Dinesh, we use the term cultural Marxism. I've said it before on this show, but you have written about this for many years, been studying this for decades. Just for everyone out there, I think we all, this is one of those concepts, we all have a sense of it, but what is your definition? How should we be thinking of cultural Marxism? Because, often leftists will say, well, Marxism is about the controlling the means of production, the distribution. What's cultural Marxism, right? And they try to get into the semantics of this. What should people be thinking of as cultural Marxism and how it's affecting us today?
In the 1920s, the Italian communist Gramsci made a very interesting observation. He said, look, we Marxists are never going to win as long as we are just trying to convert the working class. He goes, why is this? Because he said the working class, even though they may be oppressed under capitalism, they are part of a larger bourgeois culture. This is a culture that is nourished by Judaism and Christianity. This is a culture that has imbued with them a story of history, a sense of values. And so you cannot look at them as economic animals alone. These working class people have also assimilated bourgeois culture. And as long as that's the case, they will never have a revolution. So according to Gramsci, we have to take over the universities, we meaning the left. Or we have to take over the organs and institutions of culture. We need, you may say, counter-indoctrination. And so the left has taken up this project with a vengeance, starting in the 1960s, but continuing to now. And they have, in fact, I think, successfully seized most of academia, most of the mainstream media, virtually all of Hollywood, seemingly now digital media. And so they're conducting, you may almost call it, cultural military operations against us. You should understand a lot of this mayhem in the streets, the pulling down of monuments, by the way, not just Confederate monuments, but Lincoln's monument. This is part of their cultural assault on what they called bourgeois or Judeo-Christian values. Cultural Marxism is the non-economic component of the left's culture war.
We're speaking to Dinesh D'Souza, author of many books, including his latest that is just out now, United States of Socialism, and he's got a documentary coming up as well, The Trump Card. Dinesh, I've got to say, I'm not, and I don't mean this personally, I mean the conservative movement, not feeling tired of winning these days. With these Supreme Court decisions that have come down, it feels like the conservative legal project is really in question. It feels like with the assault on the statues and on our cities and the looting and the rioting, there has not been the counterpunch, the counter narrative that we would want to see. What do you see going on? And I know you've got this in the Trump card. How do we turn this around? Because I feel like, and I've said this publicly for a couple of weeks now, it feels like right now the Trump movement is losing, or at least losing ground.
Well, the left is very good at seizing its opportunities, and interesting to see how they have used the George Floyd killing. Every conservative that I know was publicly outraged immediately upon seeing the video. So there was an opportunity for racial healing, for racial unity. We all agree on this, that there should not be bad cops and there should only be good cops. But the left realized that they don't want that. They need division because that is part of their strategy. The whole notion of identity socialism, as I call it, is to set rich against poor, black against white, male against female, straight against gay, legal against illegal, and then try to create a majority coalition of oppressed victim groups. And so the left said, look, let's take this George Floyd killing and stick on top of it a larger narrative, a very controversial narrative. The problem, as they see it, is not just bad cops, it's all cops. Cops are racist. The country is racist. Capitalism is imbued with white supremacy. It's been that way since at least 1776, if not before. And the left said, let's force feed people this narrative. And if they dispute the narrative, let's accuse them of being bigots because they don't care about George Floyd. Now, I would say that our side is always caught with sort of deer-like surprise when this happens. I mean, they do it all the time, but we never seem to know how to respond. And we respond to their narrative with what can be called data. Like, wait a minute, it is factually true that more whites, but the problem is a narrative isn't data. A narrative is a storyline, an interpretation of a wide set of facts, and it can only be overthrown with a counter narrative that is also a story of American history and the place of racism in it. We don't generate that narrative. Trump doesn't do it. Republicans don't do it. Conservative intellectual magazines don't do it. And it desperately needs to be done.
Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.